geoeconomics, the hottest topic, hottest event, and it is shaping the world today. We are not new to it, we are Indians. We had seen East India Company come here, 1600. That's not geoeconomics. A company came to make profits in India. It turns into geoeconomics in the middle of the 18th century when the East India Company acquired the rights to collect taxes in Bihar, Odisha and Bengal and fought the Battle of Plassey in which the British government supported them. That is when it turns into geoeconomics. 100 years later, roughly 1858, it turns into imperialism when the government is completely controlled with military support and you station your troops there to take over the nation. You colonize the imperial network. So initially a company comes, later the soldier supports them, still later the entire nation is colonized, which is what you call imperialism. So now the same thing is going on in a separate form in the world today. There may not be any imperialism that is stationing your troops here, capturing the government here, ruling the country yourself, ruling it through a parliament which is a mock parliament, but your parliament controls the country. That is an outdated, old-fashioned imperialism. But today you have an equally effective mode of control called the geoeconomics. Geo means geography. Economics means all the tools like financial tools, economic tools, investment, sanctions, loans, AI, critical minerals, stable coins and what have you. Gold of course. All these are the channels used by governments to take control of a smaller or larger pie of the global economy. Let's track it down. Begin with the definition. Geoeconomics is through economic instruments like aid, investment, loans, sanctions, currencies, gold and so on. Governments want to control through economic instruments rest of the world for geopolitical purposes, strategic purposes. Unlike earlier, a company goes somewhere, invests and makes profits and may repatriate or reinvest. That is a purely economic event. Geoeconomics is backed by the government. For example, go to China. China has the BRI, that is the Belt and Road Initiative. China is all over Asia, all over Africa and quite a bit of Latin America, quite a bit of Europe as well, and if you take a softer version, America as well. All this is the BRI, Belt and Road Initiative, the infrastructural push, that is ports, roads, power plants and so on. It controls the Pakistan economy with CPEC, China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, which is worth almost $70-80 billion, and it has access to Indian Ocean through Gwadar. And that is exactly how the geoeconomics works. Go to smaller countries, fund them for projects. If they don't have money, lend them money, and if they can't repay, take over the assets. What is Hambantota? What is Colombo? What is Gwadar? There is a string of pearls. We are encircled by China with all the economic projects in all the countries surrounding us, so that China has control over South Asia and also Indian Ocean. That is why Quad has come up. So Chinese BRI is a monumental, phenomenal example of the geoeconomics. Economic assets converted into political ones for strategic control. Similarly, the Chinese project, the software side of it, Digital Silk Road. Digital Silk Road is Chinese investment in telecom, undersea cables, data centers. What is deep sea? What is moonshot? They'll be all over the world, the third world. the developing world, the south of the world. And China will have control over their resources, data, and eventually governments. This is the digital side of the geoeconomics. TikTok falls into the same category. It is on the face of it a short video sharing platform. For youth, it is fun. For others, it is one where they show off, where they exchange information, entertainment. And that is, on the face of it, very innocent, innocuous. But think of the fact that ByteDance, valued at around $700 billion, which is the parent company of TikTok, which is in America itself valued at $20 billion, of which America took away 80% of it in the recent January 2026 deal. Why? Because in TikTok, out of a population of 350 million in America, 170 participate. What about their data? What about hooking them? What about national security? What about profiling them? And also please remember, the statute of ByteDance says that it will help the government of China find information about wherever it operates. So it has serious strategic implications. And as a part of the soft side of geoeconomics, America has got into a deal with ByteDance, under which 80% of the valuation belongs to it. That is, out of $20 billion, which is the worth of America TikTok, 80% is that of American companies. And 20% is with the ByteDance. But the code of it is with the ByteDance. The code of it, code of it is with the ByteDance. The information management and so on is, of course, jointly planned and managed. That is another example. Doesn't look so, but it is, of geoeconomics. And come to the sanctions. We hear of sanctions every day. You know, $300 billion worth of Russia's forex reserves, which Russian government parked in European banks, were frozen after Russia entered into a special military operation with Ukraine, a war, you know, a soft term for war, in February 2022. And this $300 billion, which is the earning of Russian government, is with European banks. They froze it. Russia can't use it, and they are thinking of using it for reconstruction of Ukraine. Maybe give Ukraine the money so that it can procure arms from America. American defense industries will prosper. So this is a case of sanctions. What are sanctions? A government or a regional body like G7 or the Yuan itself will penalize a country to change its foreign policy. For example, Russia, get out of Ukraine, reclaim your money, be there, and we'll use it up. Sanctions. And primary sanctions, secondary sanctions. So if G7 proclaims sanctions on Russian oil, none of the companies in G7 countries can take oil, buy oil from Russia. That is primary sanctions. If India buys, secondary sanctions. That is, a third party is also not allowed. If any Indian company, for example, Reliance, buys crude from Russia, Reliance will not be allowed to trade with any of the companies, and via any of the companies in the G7, all other companies in the world, almost all, will also be forbidden from trading with Reliance. So Reliance is finished after that. Secondary sanctions on third-party countries. So what are sanctions? Sanctions are a very big and effective, not effective, debatable, but very big tool of geoeconomics. Now you come to gold. Gold as a tool in geoeconomics. You know, in the last 1 year, 25 to 26, the global price of gold doubled. Who is buying? Not individuals. They may be buying a bit, a gram here, a gram there. But most of it is bought by central banks. Some banks are accumulating, and some banks in Africa, like Central Bank of Kenya, they are acquiring for the first time. India, of course, acquired during the first term of Trump, and today we are consolidating. I told you about the $300 billion of Russian forex reserves. confiscated by the G7, we are all afraid. So India earlier kept its gold with the Bank of England. Today, 75% of India's 880 tons of gold are within India. We brought them back and then we are storing them in India because who knows, in the fluid, unpredictable and unilateralist geopolitics of today, anytime your gold can be impounded outside and we won't have access to that. Sanctions. So central banks are buying gold to de-dollarize. We are not very confident about the global dollar's future. We are very skeptical about it. So please remember, the gold price doubles up in 1 year. Central banks are the buyers. They have had enough of US dollar. Now they want to de-dollarize. And so gold being one of the global monetary assets, they are looking to gold because where else will they go? All other currencies like euro, etc., they have their limitations. You can't go for Bitcoin because Bitcoin is neither here nor there. It's a speculative asset, roller coaster. So gold has been time tested. Last 5,000 years, gold has had the faith of mankind. So gold as a tool in geoeconomics. Now you come to, there is a concept called global reserve currency, which is every central bank and companies and HNIs, high net worth individuals, they keep their portfolio inclusive of a lot of foreign currency. That is, it was 72% of the global reserve currencies were in US dollars 25 years back because that was accepted everywhere in the world. That 72% has come into about 55% today, 55 to 60% today. Why? Because if your currency is a global reserve currency, there are tremendous benefits. You will get your loans very cheap. People who earn dollar, who keep dollar, would like to keep it in government security of America, and when they come chasing the US securities, interest rates fall, borrowings are cheap, and the government of America today is sitting on a debt of $40 trillion. Its GDP is about $35 to $37 trillion, which means it is ahead of its GDP in the external commercial borrowings, that is sovereign borrowings. Okay, put it this way, sovereign debt. The sovereign debt of American government is about $40 trillion, which means they got the loan so cheap, which is because their global reserve currency status was very solid. That has watered down, as I told you, by about 20-25% in the last 25 years. Why? Euro was started in 2001 as a physical currency, though it started in a limited way digitally in 1996. So Euro is claiming its share. Chinese Yuan is claiming its share, and also because the domestic economic behavior of America, particularly the global financial crisis of 2008, after that Trump won and now Trump too, they are not inspiring the world to look to dollar as a reserve currency. Therefore, they are desperately trying to diversify. I told you about gold, yes, and I'm telling you about Yuan and Euro. Both of them are vying, though China in a limited way because China is a totalitarian country and doesn't have capital account convertibility. I told you, I've got dollars. I can put it in American banks for deposits, American central bank for deposit, or I can buy American government securities. I can't do the same in China. China has capital account convertibility in a very limited way. That is, investment options in China are very limited, be it in stocks or be it in bonds. Therefore, to that extent, Chinese yuan is struggling to become internationalized. It's doing it gradually. It is not in a hurry because it is convinced American dollar is on decline. So, just like you had currency wars, which is competitive devaluation for benefits. You have global reserve currency wars now. Euro and Yuan are fighting with America for a greater share in the global pie of global reserve currencies. This is another side of geoeconomics. And now that the dollar is declining, America wants to bring back dollar. How? Last year we all heard of the Genius Act. What is the Genius Act? It creates a regulatory framework for stable coins. What are stable coins? There is a financial company, it issues a stable coin, I go there with a dollar and the dollar is converted into a stable coin. That company has a branch in India. I want to send this dollar, this stable coin, to my relatives in India, my family in India. It goes there in a second, like your email or WhatsApp message. Otherwise, the same $1 goes through multiple banks. I have to pay a lot of transaction charges and it takes days and maybe weeks also. Therefore, America wants to promote the stable coin as the medium for remittances and also as a store of value. So, if you don't have faith in dollar, you have faith in JP Morgan. They have floated a stable coin. You are working in America. You've got $50,000 to send home. Don't send through dollar if you are not sure of dollar. Buy stable coin of JP Morgan. It's there in America, it's there in India, and it gets transferred in a second, split second. So, and where does the money I give to JP Morgan for the purchase of stable coin go? It goes into American securities. So, in the same way that the dollar was going into American security, stable coin, it's stable because every dollar of stable coin is connected to every dollar worth of US securities. So, it's basically digital currency backed by American securities. So, $1 worth of stable coin is going into $1 worth of American security. Once again, the dollar is able to become resilient. Its decline is being arrested, and also there is some appreciation of the global view on US dollar. So stable coin has become the new channel, emerging channel for your geoeconomics. Now you come to critical minerals. Critical minerals. In India we have 30 critical minerals, all your nickel, cobalt, copper, lithium, etc. There are 17 rare earths. That is recognized scientifically. But each nation has its own list of critical minerals, and we have 30, America has 60. They are critical for modern technology, be it your smartphones or defense or renewables or what have you. Now, 60% of these rare earths and critical minerals are in China. 90 are mined by China. 90% that is processed, refined by China. All your permanent magnets, etc. There are the technologies with China. When America raised tariffs on China, when America said we will not give you the NVIDIA H200 chips, China said, okay, keep it with yourself, but expect us not to give you the critical minerals also. Then the export controls of NVIDIA's chips were relaxed, tariffs were lowered, then China also relaxed its export of the critical minerals. So this is how critical minerals and the supply chain implications of the same are a very foundational part of the current geoeconomics. So that is critical minerals and rare earths. We talked about the gold, we talked about the global reserve currency wars and the dollar. Let's see the AI part of it. You know, AI is everything. AI is going to rule the global economy, not just the economy, society, psychology, and according to some philosophers, our civilization is going to be guided by AI. Your day doesn't start, your day doesn't end without AI. And that is when the AI is in its infancy. Think of our civilization, our lifestyle, our economy, our governance when AI advances. You know, we were worried about superbugs. Bacteria were becoming resistant to the existing antibiotics. But with the AI, you know where to hit the super bugs and make them ordinary bugs. That is just to give you one example. And so whoever has AI is going to rule the world. There's severe competition between America and China. Some say they are equal, some say China may be a few inches behind. So if you have AI with you, you have defense capabilities, military capabilities, scientific, technological, economic, financial. Your systems are safe, others' systems are not. If you don't have the AI, imagine Anthropic's Mythos. They detected vulnerabilities in the softwares of Defense Department of America and elsewhere. Imagine the same Mythos was made by either DeepSeek or Moonshot. Then the entire American defense, the Pentagon, is vulnerable to Chinese cyber attack. The entire financial system of America and G7 vulnerable to Chinese attack and vice versa. And the next day, without even consulting Anthropic, American government stopped the export of mythos and fable of Anthropic to China. So this is how the race is in AI. You know, chip controls and banning the export of various softwares like fable and mythos of Anthropic. And we don't know what is ahead. So AI race is also on. All these are instruments of the governments, financial, economic, trade and others, in the hands of governments to ensure that in the rivalry, which is economic and political in nature, they are the winners. So we started with China's BRI, we went into the digital Silk Road of China, and then we tracked the definition of geoeconomics. We went on to discuss the role of gold, stable coins, reserve currencies, critical minerals, AI, and so on, and sanctions in it. You know, in this game of intense Cold War through economics, geoeconomics is the foundation of the new Cold War. Call it Cold War 2.0 or whatever version of Cold War. Intense rivalry. In order to keep the other party, the rival, down through various means. This is the nature of global politics, global economics today. And everyone is a loser in this, because once in the AI, in the lunar race and in the stablecoin race, etc., sanctions, etc., once you launch them to weaken your rival, this is not healthy for the world. We should all collaborate, come together, ensure that the technological benefits have helped the whole world. And where are we in India? We are trying to diversify, all the friend-shoring, near-shoring, etc. Earlier, the world was going where it is the most efficient to produce. Today, they are not going where it is the most efficient to produce. They are going to the nearby countries. They are going to the friends, near-shoring, friend-shoring, not offshoring in a efficiency-driven way. So, yes, we are also doing, we got our agencies, we got a deal with Argentina for lithium, and we got a deal with Australia the other day for the uranium. So we are also diversifying through Quad and otherwise. We are also, remember, China withheld the supply of critical minerals to us, and we were in danger of our production of cars, etc., stopping. And so we are also launching our own missions for critical minerals by making relevant changes in the mineral laws. That is what geoeconomics is about. You know the definition, you know the instruments, you know the dangers, you know the way ahead. That is geoeconomics. Thank you so much.